I've got a really special visitor to our home today, Gamini Ratnavira, Sri Lanka's best known wildlife artist. And Gamini is planning to have an exhibition from the 7th to the 9th of November 2025 at the Lionel Wendt Art Gallery. And I thought the best way of introducing him, not that he needs introduction because this is his fourth exhibition, would be to ask him to paint something for us so that we can see how he works. Gamini, welcome. And
Thank you, Ron.
what are you planning on painting for us today?
I'm planning on painting one of the birds that are very popular and everybody loves. It's a white-throated kingfisher. I have a sketch I have done in the field. I just bring it up to get the proportions and light and color and things like that together.
So this is going to be what you're going to be working
Yeah,
from?
one of the subjects from here I will be using. In order to create the atmosphere, I push it back and I try to keep it subdued so that the subjects are a little more focused. But it has to be pretty close to the environment that it lives in. I don't want to just do a flat background with nothing or just a little mountain or something and then
Great.
so that's the reason why.
Why don't you get started and we'll chat while you work?
That's perfect.
Fantastic.
So to get started with the painting, what I do is I use a gray or black, but a toned down gray in other words, and I pretty much outline the whole painting just the way I did with the pencil. I have to first make up my mind which direction the light is coming. The next step is going to be where the shadows are. And I like to off-center it. I always like to off-center my paintings. It's a lot more pleasing for the eye.
Have you decided whether there's going to be water at the bottom of this?
Just an illusion of water. One of the reasons I paint on a gray background is to create the light. And I work from dark to light, unlike most other artists work the opposite way. I'm self-taught, so I'm trying to always figure out how to get the best results.
Surely you must have had lessons at some stage.
No, I had
Never ever?
no lessons at all. And also another thing I want to emphasize in painting birds and animals, you don't have to paint every feather because you don't see every feather. There's no green feathers. There's no blue feathers. So in order to recreate them, you have to go from dark to light. Otherwise, you're going to have a very flat-looking bird. This medium I'm using is called acrylic gouache. So this is the first step where it's like a negative photograph. To create the light, I use white, not just the white areas. The entire bird where the light hits has to be highlighted. I paint over it and the highlights will pop up and then I enhance it at the end. And I had a little sunbird that was brought to me one time with a broken wing. And just before that I had broken my hand and they put a cast on my hand. So I knew if I put a cast on that bird, I might be able to save its wing, and I did. I took a turkey quill, cut it, and I put it on the wing and healed. My bed was a camp bed, and under the camp bed I had a trunk. And I had to separate the trunk into sections, and into three sections. One section was my clothes. One section I had baby water hen, white-breasted. Other section was my baby squirrel under the bed. I was basically kicked out of the art class when I was in third grade. There was a little snake in a little hole when my dad and I was building his house in Batarungla. So I did catch the snake and realized it was a baby cobra.
Wow.
So I called Ranil. I knew my brothers knew Ranil
This
well.
is Ranil
Senanayak. And I told him, Ranil, I caught this snake, and he's like, are you crazy? The important thing is, if I paint every leaf, this bird is not going to be seen. So now, what I want to do is push the background back. Now, okay. And so,
Are you more or less finished with the bird now?
I'll do some highlights after I finish the background. So I'm going to do like a wash of green, just very subdued.
So which year did you move to California?
1986.
Wow, that's a good long time. 40 years, yeah.
And I never did another job. This is what I've been doing ever since I left here. So, I mean, I was doing a lot of wildlife tours,
That's working as a tour guide.
Yeah, working as a nature tour guide, and which was great because I get to go to places I wanted to go and somebody paid for it. And but also the most important thing is I learned from a lot of the other naturalists that came here, being associated with them, I learned a lot about nature, you know. And I was talking to you about the light on the eye. So when I create the light on the eye, the spot I put is in the eye, the spot I put right at the back of the eye.
Okay.
Now you look at him from any direction, he'll be looking at you. And I love working with lichens and things like that because it's a lot of fun, and of course it's also a very important part of the environment. I can't do it in one day. So when I work in oils, I work on about 10 pieces at the same time, with them all laid out on. And but one of the things that I'm privileged I can do is I can take 10 different subjects from 10 different locations and work on all of them around us at from one to another without actually losing my concentration of that environment. So earlier when I used to paint, I used to line out every feather and then do everything. But you can't see it, so I just now pick up a few of the lines and enhance that. Now see, on the underside of the branch, I am putting a little bit of a sort of a brownish yellow, and that's called reflected light. I love to paint the lichens and things like that because it just adds so much of life. Pick up a few of the leaves in the background, just give it a few highlights, and then it'll jump out. And blue on the water is basically the reflection of light from the sky, especially when you're working with acrylics. With oils, I do a little more detail, but it has to be completely dry before I go to the next stage. So when I work in oils, I work on about 10 pieces at the same time with them all laid out on.
Now I see you putting these little black dots on. What do those mean?
When you take it, when you look at it from a distance, it looks like the dark areas between the leaves.
Yeah, but even though the background is like out of focus and without much detail, it's obviously taking you a lot more effort and time than the bird itself.
Yeah, because it's all this.
There's a lot more work in the background, right?
Yeah, that brings the bird out too.
Sure.
Now, like for instance, if I'm darkening the leaves between the leaves behind the bird, this part of the
There's
light,
more contrast.
Yeah. See. So the same thing with the shadows, of course, is important. So I'm going to use the same, and then put a shadow under this wing. So now I have to sign it. See the bird that jumps out from there. So we're almost at the end of it now.
And we're all done. Gamini's exhibition will be on at the Harold Pierce Gallery of the Lionel Wendt from the 7th to the 9th of November. I hope you'll be able to make it. Here's a few more of the pictures that will be on display at the exhibition.